I met George at a time when I was having a hard time.
It was an imperfect proposal from the beginning, and it got worse when he found out she was still seeing her boyfriend.
I played by the sugar daddy rules. She didn't play by the princess rules.
I find a 60-year-old guy playing a sugar daddy to an 18, 19-year-old girl, you get what you deserve.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is her courtroom. This is Judge Judy.
Parties on Boyer versus Mills. Step forward, please.
60-year-old retired aerospace exec George Boyer says he reached a sugar daddy arrangement with Demetria Mills when she was 18 years old. Now he wants her to pay back money because she had another boyfriend.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 201 on the calendar in the matter of Boyer versus Mills. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Boyer, you're suing the defendant for $5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you tell me why she owes you $5,000?
Well, it all started when I had a financial ad running in a newspaper.
When was this?
Back in spring of 1994. For personal loans. I'm an investor, and she answered the ad asking for a loan. And I said, well, you really didn't qualify for the loan. What's the problems? And she discussed them briefly with me. I said, well, let's get together and maybe I can help you out. Because she sounded like she had a desperate situation.
Am I correct, Mr. Boyer, that in 1994 you began to have a relationship with Miss Mills?
Yes, we did.
And she lived in your home occasionally, is that right?
Well, she moved in.
Yes. And in 1994, sir, how old were you?
Well, I was 58.
You were 58. And how old were you, Miss Mills, in 1994?
I was 18, turning 19.
You were 18. Did you feel uncomfortable about that, Mr. Boyer?
Not really.
She's 18 years old. She's a baby.
Yeah, that's right.
In any event.
I thought she was 19, going on 20.
Well, that makes all the
Okay.
difference in the world,
no,
sir.
I mean, no, just a matter of factual accuracy, I think. Yeah.
In any event, from a reading of your complaint over the years, you helped her financially and supported her, is that right?
At certain points of time, yes.
Well, she lived in your house and you paid the
Well,
rent?
it was really like in 3 different stages. First of all, if you want to call this the sugar daddy stage, it was only 4 months.
Well, I'm glad you did, so I
Well,
didn't have
you know,
to.
I just put it all on the table. That was the first 4 months. I played by the sugar daddy rules. She didn't play by the princess rules. In other words, I did
Why don't you
everything
explain that? Just a second. I'm a little stupid, so why don't you explain that to me?
Okay. I fully supported her, got a car for her use, paid her tuition in school. I was trying to be a bridge for her to get from when I first met her, which was down and out big time, to getting through school, getting through her surgical technology school, being successful, and treating her like a first-class girl during that period. And I was there to carry it all the way through. I don't think she saw it the same way because she had boyfriends on her side. She was having sex with other guys. She brought home an STD for me. Thank you very much. Sexually transmitted disease. And I told her to pack up and get out. And I gave her some big money to go back to Alabama so she could get there safe and sound. None of the debts I'm asking for her to repay occurred during that period of time. They occurred much later. When she wanted to come to my house, she was begging me to come to my house. I said, okay, but not on the same terms. You work your part-time, I'll help you through school, furnish free rent and food.
During that second period of time, sir,
period.
did you have sexual relations with the defendant?
Occasionally, although I backed off, and she was wondering why, because...
The word is occasionally.
Occasionally, yeah.
Okay, so she was 19, 20, and you were close to 60 at the time?
Yeah, approximately.
Okay. And is that the period of time that you're talking about, when loans were made to her?
That's right.
What were the loans for?
She had a real bad habit on the telephone, long-distance phone calls. After I cut her off, she went to her sister, got her calling card, ran up $600 in 2 months. I talked to her sister, so I know. She comes, so now she has no way to make calls. So she makes third-party calls, and the third party doesn't know that she's making these calls, charging her number, charging to their number. I get the phone bill 3 months later for March calls. It's a June phone bill. She says, "Oh, I'm going to pay you." As soon as I call her, she says, "Oh, I'll pay you."
So
She never paid me, so that's number one.
Okay, this is very simple. She billed them to a third party. The third party ultimately said, "I'm not accepting the charges." They
And I
billed
got
them back
mailed
to the
one, yeah.
phone, your phone in your house.
This is after she already moved out.
Okay. I really should be right up front with you. I find your initial position really very unsympathetic. Do you understand me?
Sure.
You know, I mean, this is a court, and we're bound by certain rules. If she owes you money, you're going to get that money. But I find a 60-year-old guy playing a sugar daddy to an 18, 19-year-old girl, it's sort of, you get what you deserve. That's the way I feel. Now, she may have been a pretty savvy 18, 19-year-old girl, but even a pretty savvy 18, 19-year-old girl is still a baby.
She's
Not fully
very
cooked.
street smart.
Street smart, yes,
And-
but not fully cooked, sir. And not fully cooked. So,
But-
I mean, you played
But if she
sugar
wants
daddy.
to
You
ex-
played sugar daddy, and sometimes there's a meltdown, and you get your fingers burned.
If she wants to accept that role in my life, then she should do it right and not be having sex with all these different guys and having all these different guys call the house. How long am I supposed to put up with this stuff? And be right and be
It's
good
one
to
of the
her?
problems that you face, sir, when you're 60 and you fool around with somebody who's young enough to be your
Okay,
grandchild.
that second period.
All right?
Hey, I know the age.
What else?
I got that.
What else does she owe you
Doesn't
for?
mean I'm still not a man.
Come.
60 years old, I'm still a man. I'm much more capable than a lot of punks out there living with their mothers, and they're sleeping with these girls. At least I can take care of business. Tell me about it. And I can do everything they can do, and maybe better.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I knew it was going to come down to this lowest common denominator, sex with a young girl. Big deal. Man, they should have it so good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Demetria Mills says 60-year-old retired aerospace executive George Boyer knew she had another boyfriend when they made their sugar daddy arrangement.
What else?
Next one, direct my Porsche, making an illegal U-turn.
I'm not considering that she's wrecking your Porsche, sir. Did she agree to pay you for it?
She agreed to pay me for it.
Did you ever agree to
She
pay
told her relative she'd pay for it.
Shh. Did she ever agree with you?
Yes.
When?
After it was wrecked. She came home feeling real bad.
Let me see the loan agreement that she made with you.
There it is right here.
I'm going to look at.
There it is right here. It's itemized on page 3.
All right.
She agreed to pay this back.
Just a minute.
And she knew she owed it to me. This is during the second period, and I was not playing sugar daddy during that period. I was just helping her out. I was just trying to be nice to her, excuse me. She had problems.
All right, let's see your end, Miss Mills.
George made a proposition to me. He knew that I was vulnerable. He took.
Don't tell me what he knew. You moved in. How long had you been living alone?
Not very long. This was my roommate before I moved in with George, and we were there just a few months.
Where do you originally come from?
I'm originally from Alabama.
So you lived with George for a while in sort of this relation. He was taking care of you and giving you money. Then you moved out. For how long?
Basically for 3 years. He
That's
took
not
care of me
right.
even when I moved to Alabama. George was sending me money. George took me on trips. George sent me to Alabama a few different times. George
She had
bought
a
a car.
boyfriend's paid a trip, too.
George, and that's George's
Twice.
problem right now, Judge Judy, is I'm not in his home. This is why he's doing this to me. Had I still been in his home, he wouldn't have a problem with me now. When I made the decision to move out of his home was because I needed to be by myself and on my own, and I didn't want to be in that situation anymore.
Well, I agree with you. You shouldn't have been in the situation in the first place.
Exactly.
Okay, and for that, he's more responsible than you are because of his age. He should be a little bit smarter. He should be 3 times as smart as
And,
you are because, because he's 3 times as old. But you do acknowledge, even in your answer, that you owe him some money.
Yes, but this is not the agreement. The
That's her
agreement that I
handwriting.
signed for that car, I signed that agreement in January of 1995. I'm sure he has a copy of it. I've seen it in his files of his records. That was for a 1989 Buick that he bought for me.
Now, did you pay him for it?
No, I did not.
So
What?
you acknowledge.
Yes, I do.
If I bought
second.
it for her, how come I'm the lien holder on it?
She's the
Just a
lien
second.
holder, but I'm the registered owner,
Listen
Judge
to
Judy.
me. What are you fighting about, Mr. Boyer? She acknowledges that she owes you $3,000, which you
Exactly.
haven't paid
No,
any
I
part
have
of,
not.
plus interest at 6%. Correct?
Correct.
You
I gave her a
acknowledge
good
this.
deal.
What?
I gave her a good deal, 6% interest.
You gave us some good deal, sir. Bird, do me a favor.
Your Honor,
Take the old calculator while we're finishing this case up. Would you do 6% interest on this money since '95?
This is after she cheated on me.
Excuse me, Your
I'm
I
still
Honor.
heard
being a
she
nice
cheated
person.
on you, sir. I heard all of that. I'm telling you, your position with me, Mr. Boyer, is not terribly sympathetic, sir. I mean, I don't know whether you find women who are contemporaries not as interesting as children, but at age 18, she's really still a child. And you may say, oh, she's sophisticated and she's worldly and she's savvy and she's street savvy.
Right.
Mr. Boyer,
Yes, ma'am.
she's a baby. 18 years old and a baby and vulnerable because she doesn't have any money and you got some money and it's very tempting. But you are not a very sympathetic person in my eyes, sir. You're going to get some of the money, but because she signed for it. Do you understand? But the rest of the stuff, I'm not so sure about.
Excuse me, Judge Judy.
What?
You know, everything besides that car that George did for me because he wanted to do it. I mean, for 3 years, I'm 23 now, just turned 23 Friday. Would somebody do that kind of stuff for 3 years if they did not want to?
Miss Mills, I haven't gotten to you yet. You are a beautiful, seemingly intelligent young woman who should have more pride in herself, even when you're 18, to sell your body for money, which is what you did. That's what you did. That's being no different than a prostitute. You may have used the money to go to school, to go on trips and whatever, but he bought the services. That was the arrangement. He's an old lecher. No question about it. That's what he is. And I'm being kind to Mr. Boyer. You, on the other hand, sold your body for money.
It was an agreement that we had. That was the basis of our arrangement. He
Duh.
was to give me what I needed, and I gave him.
You sold your body for money. You are worth more than that. As a woman, smart, good-looking woman, you're worth more than that. I don't care if you have to work 2 jobs. I don't care if you collect cans. I don't care if you clean people's houses. I don't care if you drive a bus, drive a car, drive a cab. You do whatever you can so that you don't have to sell your body for money.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today,
You're a pathetic little girl, you're immature, and I'm sick of your crap. You owe me $1,500.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Demetria Mills says 60-year-old retired aerospace executive George Boyer knew she had another boyfriend when they made their sugar daddy arrangement.
Mr. Boyer, you are a very lucky man today, sir.
Gee.
Because despite the fact that I find that your arrangement with this young lady is the antithesis of good manners, good breeding, or anything moral, I am awarding you what she signed for in her contract, which was payment on the car, and I am awarding you $3,360. As far as her other bills are concerned, swallow them. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Sorry, that's all right. Back door to your right, please.
She's fully grown up. I don't care what her age is. She knows what she's doing, and she's cagey. Judge Judy focused on the sugar daddy stuff because I'm 60. I'm some ancient old man, who doesn't have a right to be a regular human being and expect to be treated like a human being, expect people I have agreements with to keep their agreements with me.
And now the next case.
Parties on Glass versus Carr. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Tiffany Glass is suing her former roommate, 20-year-old Kelly Carr, because she says Kelly moved out of their apartment, giving only 5 days' notice and leaving behind numerous unpaid phone bills.
Miss Glass, Miss Carr was your roommate.
Yes.
Did you know her before she moved into your apartment?
No, I did not.
Did she answer an ad? Is that how she got your apartment?
No, she got it through a friend of mine.
And you have a one-bedroom, two-bedroom apartment?
2-bedroom, 2-bathroom.
What was her rent?
$375.
And how long were you living in bliss with the defendant?
She moved in February, and it was fine. You know, we totally got along. It was fine in March, and it kind of started to go down at the end of March. You know.
Now, had she paid you for February?
Yes.
She paid you for March?
Yes.
When did she move out?
At the end of May.
She pay you for April?
Yes.
She pay you for May?
Yes.
So why are we here?
Because she left at the very end of May, and she gave me 5 days' notice to find somebody new and decided that she didn't have to pay anything else.
Did you have a lease with her?
No.
So,
She just left.
you weren't getting along.
Correct.
Is that right?
Right.
Why weren't you getting along?
Well, I didn't really know. There wasn't enough communication between the two of us.
But you knew enough to know that you weren't getting along.
Pretty much. But there was never enough, oh, well, I'm moving out. Oh,
It's hard to live with somebody.
yes, it is.
Well, since she paid you for the months that she was there and she moved out 5 days before the end of the month, did she owe you any money? I mean,
Prior-
other than the rent. I'm not considering the rent.
Before that, she didn't pay the deposit when she moved in, but I said, don't worry about that until June because, you know, at the end of June, the other roommate, blah, 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 was going to get hers, and then she could give it to me then.
Fine, so we're not talking about the deposit. But other than the rent she's paid up?
Oh, no, there's several phone bills.
What
and-
phone bills?
Which phone bills? Mm-hmm. There was phone bills from, the statement date was on June 23rd, and then it went back into May. It went from May to June. And there was a $40 900 call that I shouldn't have paid, and there were several long-distance phone calls,
In what amount? Come, quickly.
around $75
In long-distance calls.
in long-distance calls.
Okay. Tell me why you left.
I left because living with her was unbearable. I went through, starting back at the end of March, early April, out of the blue, I started getting notes on my bed saying, you need to stay away from my friends. When I first moved in with her, I had just moved down to California. I didn't know very many people. Tiffany was nice, and she took me out. She introduced me to people, but then she tried to take that away. She said, you stay away from my friends. My friends are my friends. Your friends are your friends. You're going to make my life miserable.
So girly things.
Girly things.
Girly things. All right. Girly things. You paid February, March, April, and May. She says that you owe her $115 for phone bills.
I owed her approximately $150 for everything. That was gas, everything. And I told her when I gave her 2 weeks' notice that I would be leaving, that I will pay that. You just send me the bills to my grandmother's house, and then I'll send you a check. But when that happened, she began leaving harassing, vulgar phone mails on my voicemail. I would get them at work. They would disturb me at work. I would have to leave work because I would be so upset. I got harassing I have copies of the messages on papers. I have letters that she sent me
I mean,
threatening me.
that you owe her money.
That I owe her money, and if I don't, she's telling I quote, every living soul what I have done to her. I didn't do anything to her. I was protecting myself. I left. I didn't have to give her any notice, but I gave her 2 weeks' notice, being the last week of May, and then the first week of June, and I gave her 1 week's rent.
For June?
For June. I have paper here to
Just a
prove
second.
it.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Explain something to you, Miss Carr. We don't even have to go into that. She is no longer claiming you owe her any money for rent because I'm not giving her any money for rent. I believe that you paid her all the rent that she's going to get. So you acknowledge that you owed her some money for phone bills. Is that correct?
Right, yes.
Good. Fine. Then we have no problem. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $115. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I have people calling me, do you know what Tiffany is saying about you? Do you know what kind of lies? And not even just me, other people that don't follow your little whatever, you're spreading lies about them now too. You're pathetic. You are very, very pathetic. I cannot do this anymore. She's making me sick.
She's caught up in the lie. So.
No, I will show you the lie, lady.
I just thought that I would prefer larger breasts.
The story of one woman's search for a more perfect body that ended in disappointment.
You fell in love with her the way she was, right?
Yes.
Did you encourage her to have this second surgical procedure?
No, I did not.
Did you try to discourage her?
Yes, I did.
My kind of man. Probably should have listened to him.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is her courtroom. This is Judge Judy.
Parties on Lucio versus Cole. Step forward, please.
38-year-old Sandra Lucio and her husband Jesse are suing Sandra's plastic surgeon, Dr. Richard Cole. The Lucios claim Dr. Cole botched Sandra's breast enlargement surgery, and now she faces another operation.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 183 on the calendar in the matter of Lucio versus Cole. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Lucio, is this your husband?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat, sir? And you are Dr. Cole.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Lucio, you are suing Dr. Cole because you say that he performed a breast augmentation procedure for you and you were not satisfied with the result.
That's correct, Your Honor.
I gather from your complaint that this was not the first time that you had had a breast augmentation procedure.
That's correct.
When was the first time that you had the procedure done?
It was in 1992.
What happened with that procedure?
It was fine.
So why are you doing it again?
For larger breasts.
Why?
It's what I wanted.
If you had the procedure done in 1992 and you said it was fine, what changed in the last 4 or 5 years?
I just thought that I would prefer larger breasts. I had breastfed my children, and I was at a certain size. And with age, my figure had changed, and that I wanted it more in proportion.
And are you telling me that you were totally satisfied with the procedure that was done in 1992?
Yes.
Well, let me make sure. Didn't you tell me in your complaint that your breast size was different? One was heavier than the other?
That was before any surgery.
And after the 1992 surgery, both breasts were exactly the same?
Pretty much. It was from a different doctor.
I know it was from a different doctor. What do you mean, pretty much?
It was to my satisfaction, yes.
Okay. And then you consulted Dr. Cole.
That's correct.
Why didn't you go back to the doctor that you consulted in 1992 and who did the surgery in 1992?
He had moved.
Okay. Moved to another city, another...
I just couldn't find him. He had moved. He had moved from an area he wasn't, I couldn't find him. I couldn't locate him.
Did you try?
I had went to him when I had a problem with some pain, and I had went back to his office, and they were doing some remodeling around that area. And so, and also I had had a girlfriend that gave me some information on Dr. Cole, and I had seen his work on some lip surgery that he had done for her, and I just thought I'd try another doctor.
Okay. So he came well recommended to you?
He came recommended for a different type of surgery.
So why did you decide to use him for breast surgery?
I went and had a consultation with him, I listened to what he had to say, and I just thought I would use him.
How much was he going to charge you for the surgery?
He was going to charge me originally $3,600.
And ultimately?
The $75 consultation fee, and then I also paid, the total was $3,200 with the surgical center was $800, which brought a total of $4,000.
How much did you pay for the first surgery?
I don't recall, not the total.
Do you remember?
I wasn't involved with her at the time.
Oh.
I wasn't married to her at the time, Your Honor.
When did the two of you get married?
In '95.
But you have children from a prior marriage, is
That's
that right?
correct, yes.
You have no children together?
No.
I want to ask you a couple of questions, so stand up here. You fell in love with her the way she was, right?
Yes?
Did you encourage her to have this second surgical procedure?
No, I did not.
Did you try to discourage her?
Yes, I did.
My kind of man. You said, I love you the way you are, honey, don't do it.
Yes, I did.
Probably should have listened to him. How long do you stay in the hospital when you have this surgical procedure?
2 hours.
And how long is the discomfort period afterwards?
It's for about a week
Or more?
or more.
Well, in this case, Your Honor, it's for ever since it's happened. She's not able to even look at herself in the mirror. I have to deal with that.
Well, I don't quite understand because according to the complaint, your complaint against Dr. Cole is that your breasts are a different size.
Correct, they're uneven.
Uneven.
We paid the money that we paid for them to be even. They were even the
I
first
wouldn't have
time.
listened to me. At my age, I don't look so closely anymore. Even, uneven. I'm just happy that I have them. That's it.
Well, Your Honor, if I may,
Yes.
the first time she had it done, they were even. They were balanced out. We informed Dr. Cole and we gave him the procedure that had been done the first time and explained to him that they were uneven and that the first doctor had compensated for the fact that they were uneven. He explained to us that he understood and that he would make the proper adjustment to make them come out even, which he did not.
Dr. Cole, I'll hear you, sir.
When the couple came to me, the chief complaint here was that they did not like the first surgeon's work at all. She complains, and I have pictures to show, that the nipples pointed towards the axilla or the armpits bilaterally.
Did you complain about that?
No, he showed that to me, but I hadn't noticed.
You hadn't noticed it?
I mean, it was the way I was.
Go ahead.
She had a large retraction pocket with a muscle pulling in on the right side particularly. The breasts weren't round or smooth. They were irregularly shaped where the type of implants that were placed were adhesed to the capsules.
I don't understand all that. Does that mean they didn't look nice?
They didn't look nice.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So if you want to come back into chambers with me and you want to show me what your breasts look like, I'm certainly prepared to do that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Plastic surgeon Dr. Richard Cole denies he did anything wrong when he performed breast enlargement surgery on Sandra Lucio. Sandra says Dr. Cole botched the procedure.
Go ahead, Dr. Cole.
The chief complaint they had at that time was the shape. They did not like the shape of the breast. They didn't think it was normal or natural, and there was a lot of discomfort, particularly on the right side. The second
Well,
thing...
you said that you had gone back to the other doctor because you'd had some discomfort.
I had pulled a muscle.
Just a second. Look at me. Did you complain that you had discomfort to Dr. Cole?
That I had, no.
Discomfort?
No, he's not the one that I went back to. I went back to the original one.
I know that. When you went to see Dr. Cole, did you tell him that you had discomfort?
I had pain.
Pain. All right. You told him that you had pain on one side of your breast?
No, I had pain from the incisions, not pain from...
What difference does it make whether it's pain from the incision from the surgery or pain from the implant? It's the same thing. You had pain in your breast, madam. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I understand.
Go ahead, Dr. Cole.
The second thing they said was they'd like to have the breast enlarged if possible. The third thing I garnished not from them, but from the records they had given me from the first surgery, that there was some inequality between the breast sizes. The doctor had estimated that the difference between the two breasts was around 25 cc's difference, which is less than 2 tablespoons. But I said, if that's the third thing in terms of your interest, I will try to get that as close as possible. When I did the surgical procedure, I had a difficult time getting the capsules, the shape of the breasts, and I spent most of my time working on that so they'd be round and smooth, the nipples would point forward. The second amount of time I tried to do was to get the implant of largest size that I could in. And I explained this to Lucio's time and time again, that I can only get the size implant in that I could get in. I could not get more stuff in the area if it would not go. And I fill the implants till they're completely full and as much size as I do not have any prior conceived notion about implant size. They cost the same to me. There's no more problem getting them in if they're bigger. I had no axe to grind as far as I put the largest ones that would fit in her body safely and still be able to close the muscle tissue. I did that, and by the time I got the implants filled, I could not take some out of one side to make them even because it would have made one implant grossly smaller than the other. And I explained this to them, that I had done the best I could to get best shape, the most size I could out of them, and that's what my aims were. She had on one side, just for numbers, 300 cc's before I started, and I ended up with 430. That's over a third larger than what she started off with. On the other side, again, I put 430 cc's.
Do you have photographs for me?
I have preoperative photographs.
And I'd like to see the postoperative photographs.
I don't have any post-op. She did not come back for the post-op.
some photographs.
Well, I'd like to take a look at...
Sir, stay right there.
Okay. Can I see the postoperative photographs, please?
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
When we went to Dr. Cole informed us that he was able to put 400, the bag size, 400 cc's in her breasts and enlarge them to anywhere between, one side would be 450 to 460, the other side would be 490 to almost 500. When the doctor did the surgery, the only reason we even found out that he didn't put the right size in was because we asked for a copy of his report from his secretary. His secretary gave us a copy of the report. My wife was just devastated because he had not put the size that he indicated to us. We immediately went back into his office and said, "You didn't put the right size." He said, "Well, they no longer make that size."
Mr. Lucio.
Yes.
I can't use these photographs because these photographs don't show me anything. You showed me photographs. Your wife is wearing a brassiere.
Well, she was embarrassed to show you them without, Your Honor.
Well, then that's not proof, sir. I need proof.
That shows you that I can't wear a bra.
No, it doesn't, madam, because I can, any woman can put on a bra, and unless she puts both sides in the same way, she can manipulate one side so one side looks one way and one side looks the other way. I have one set of photographs with the way you look preoperative, and I don't have anything here. You understand that, Mr. Lucio? I mean, what I have here is something that's masked, that's covered.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Then there's something more involved here than the desire to have perfect, huge breasts.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 38-year-old Sandra Lucio and her husband Jesse are suing Sandra's plastic surgeon, Dr. Richard Cole. The Lucios claim Dr. Cole botched Sandra's breast enlargement surgery, and now she faces another operation.
I mean, what I have here is something that's masked, that's covered.
Well, we have a report, I'm sorry, from another doctor, Dr. Villicana. Wait, no, it's, if I may, just, Your Honor, it's just a...
Evaluation and the cost of what it would be to correct the surgery.
I am not going to read a report from another doctor. If you want to show me another doctor's bill, a bill I will certainly look at, but I will not accept another doctor's statement in lieu of the doctor's testimony.
We were charged for this doctor's report so that he could also, you know, show you that there is a difference just by looking at my breasts.
He says there's a difference. Madam, he says that there's a difference.
This is a drastic difference. I cannot wear a bra that's a normal size. One size fits and the other one does not. I would show you, you're a woman, you would just by looking at me. I can't wear a bathing suit. I can't wear anything that
Have you
is
been back to
normal
Dr.
size.
Cole?
We talked to Dr. Cole. The way he told me is that every woman is basically odd-sized. You're not born even. And he said that there wasn't much difference. To me, there is a difference. Eventually, after talking to him, then he said, okay, I agree. He would go in and reopen the valve. When we spoke to the other doctor...
When he said reopen the valve, he meant reopen the valve and take some out from one side?
No, he was going to put some more in.
Madam, I don't understand you. You know, I'm looking at the procedure, the preoperative procedure, the preoperative photographs. And quite frankly, I don't understand why in the world an apparently intelligent woman would want to have her breasts enlarged any larger than these are.
You make intelligent choices. I made an intelligent choice. You may not agree, but it was my choice.
It was your choice. It was your choice, and what's going to happen is you're going to have 3 surgeries on your breast. You know, there were women out there, Miss Lucio, who would love to just have breasts that didn't give them any trouble. 2 natural, nice breasts that didn't cause them any grief. You have children, you got a nice husband who said to you, dear, I love you just the way you are. Don't do anything. You're going to have surgery now 3 times in order to...
Well, if he would have done it properly, I would have only had the 2. I would have been satisfied with what I wanted, what I asked for.
Miss Lucio, I can't tell from your photographs the extent of the difference. So if you want to come back into chambers with me, and you want to show me what your breasts look like, and I am not an expert, so I'm just a lay person looking at you and seeing whether there's such an aberration, so that there is such negligence on the part of the doctor, so that I should award you $5,000. I'm certainly prepared to do that. Is that what you want to do?
That's fine.
Let's go.
Step over this way, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Dr. Cole, I must tell you that when we were in the back, I had no conversation with Mrs. Lucio with regard to this case. She was very upset. She still seems to be very upset, and what I was trying to do was to calm her a little bit and to tell her that if she wasn't prepared to proceed with this matter today, I was prepared to adjourn it unless she could compose herself. But we did not discuss the case because I know you were not with me. You might have felt certain misgivings. Do you understand?
I have no misgivings, Your Honor.
Good. Ms. Lucio, I want you to look at me. I'm jealous. I say that in the hope to get a smile on your face, madam. I will tell you that what I viewed back there was a hell of a lot better than the photographs, the preoperative photographs that were furnished to me by Dr. Cole. And quite frankly, Mr. Lucio, I think you are exaggerating to a tremendous extent. What you said was a vast difference in the size of your wife's breasts. I certainly did not see it. I saw a breast enlargement that clearly was larger than what she had. The shape was much better than what she had. And whatever difference in size was de minimis to my naked, untrained eye. And I tell you, Miss Lucio, right now that I believe that if you're prepared to put yourself through another surgical procedure, then there's something more involved here than the desire to have perfect, huge breasts. And that you would be very wise to address what it is that's really motivating you to do this. To cut yourself up every couple of years in the quest to have the perfect breast. You are the mother of, you told me in the back, 3 children. Right? You've got a husband who seems like a nice guy who says, I like you just the way you are. What I saw back there would, to me, it's as close to perfect as you could want. And yet you're not satisfied, so there's something else there. And I suggest that it may need a different kind of doctor to address what would motivate someone like you, who has 3 healthy kids, doesn't have breast cancer, thank God, doesn't have anything wrong with themselves, to put you through 3 surgeries because you see that one breast is slightly smaller than the other. insane. And for you to encourage her in that regard, sir, is wrong. You know what? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I understand.
I know you understand. You seem like an intelligent man. Don't encourage her. There's something else there in your wife's head that she's unhappy with. And if this is the vehicle that she's using in order to satisfy that, it's destructive. Dr. Cole, I don't think you made any errors when you did the surgical procedure on the plaintiff. I'm dismissing her lawsuit. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think she saw that they were uneven. To her, something small and minute. You know, I just think that if any woman was thinking about having it done with Dr. Cole, his code of ethics is very poor.
You know, I've been doing this 21 years. I've never had anybody break me to court over this. Well, I feel very sorry that I couldn't make the Lucios happier, and that's about all I have to say.
The judge obviously is out of touch with reality, and it's her courtroom. She's my wife, and I love her.
They were slamming him around, running him out the front door, knocking over some of the other customers.
His mistake was climbing onto the nightclub stage where only girls dance. That's when the bouncer stepped in.
I was running for my life.
And then the girl came after me, at me. Obviously, if I hit her, I would have killed her.
And that's when I just immediately hit him and ran.
You hit him first.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is her courtroom. This is Judge Judy.
Parties on Bunch versus the Cowboy Boogie Company. Step forward.
25-year-old student Marcus Bunch says he was punched and injured by bouncers at the Cowboy Boogie Company. He wants the owner, Jack Wade, to pay his medical bills.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 199 on the calendar in the matter of Bunch versus the Cowboy Boogie Company. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, gentlemen.
Mr. Bunch.
Yes.
And you are, sir?
Mr. Wade.
Shh. Mr. Wade, you are the owner of this club?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Bunch, your papers indicate that you were assaulted by Mr. Wade's employees while you were a patron at the club.
Yes, Your Honor, that's true.
Want to tell me what happened, sir?
Me and a bunch of friends went that night to take some dance lessons to have a good time at the club. And
Is this a dance club?
Yes, it is.
And we took the lessons, and afterwards we were dancing, and a good song came on, and we decided that we were going to dance with the rest of the customers that were up on a stage or a platform area. And when we got up there, me and my friend John, we danced for about a half of the song. And at that point, one of the bouncers came up and told us that we had to get down. So we did. And we asked him, why could the rest of the people dance up there if we couldn't? And he said, simply because they're girls. And John protested. He said, well, that's not fair. You know, in our society, it's supposed to be equal. If they can dance there, we should be allowed to also.
So there were only girls up on the platform?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So he said if he didn't like it, take it up with the management or get the heck out of the place. And we turned around and we started to walk away, and I said, all right, Haas. And that was probably a mistake. I called the guy Haas. But I don't think that was a very harsh thing to call him. And we walked away and we went back to our table. And at that point, he said, all right, you guys are out of here. And he turned around and he walked away. So we just kept going back to our table, and we sat down, and we were with the rest of our friends. And he came back instantly with a bunch of guys wearing red shirts that said Cowboy Boogie Company, and he grabbed me briskly and picked me off of my bar stool and started escorting me out of the establishment. And I went peacefully, and in front of me was John, carried hog-tied. And they were slamming him around, running him out the front door, knocking over some of the other customers that were in the place, and they threw him out the front door.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, we were underneath the umbrella in front of the establishment, and we walked past that, and we were actually in the parking lot now. And John turned around and said, I want my cowboy hat. And
This is John.
This is John.
May I say something?
Not yet.
Okay.
That night, he had just purchased a cowboy hat from this establishment, and he lost it that night.
Okay.
So he was upset. They didn't want to let him go back in the club to get the hat, and they were arguing, exchanging words at each other. And at this point, to remind you, we were past the umbrella out in the parking lot. At that point, one of the bouncers, I believe it's this guy here.
Which one, in the red shirt?
In the red shirt, yes, ma'am. He blew his top and ran out. He was by the front door. He ran out and slugged him in the chest, knocking him down to the ground. And his girlfriend and I were standing next to him, and he said, excuse my language, "F you too, and he punched her in the chest and knocked her down the ground also. And then when he turned towards me, at that point, I had just instantly, I defended myself, I hit him, I turned around, and I wanted to get the heck out of there. There was too many bouncers there. I'm not trying to pick a fight. I just wanted to be safe and get out of there. Then...
Just a second. So let me understand this, Mr. Bunch. You hit the employee first.
Yes, ma'am, after he had hit both of my friends and turned towards me.
You hit the employee first.
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead, then what happened?
Okay, so I ran through the parking lot as fast as I could.
So you hit him, and then you ran away?
Yes, I ran as fast as I could. And then there was a bunch of people chasing me. And I zigzagged through the parking lot, I ran different directions. Finally, they caught up with me, and they beat the crap out of me. They knocked me down on the ground.
Order.
I curled up into a ball, and they stomped me, they kicked me with cowboy boots, or I don't know what, but they broke my finger. They gave me a subcutaneous hematoma in one of my other fingers. They kicked me in the back.
Just a second. When you say a subcutaneous hematoma, it meant that one of your nails turned black?
Yes, and they had to, in the ER, they had to burn a hole through my nail with an electric probe so the blood can come out. It was very painful. They broke my pinky in 2 places. I had numerous bruises and scratches and kicks, and I had a bump on my elbow that lasted for 2 weeks. I was just in pain.
Where did you hit this gentleman when you hit him?
Somewhere in the face.
And I assume that you hit him with your fist.
Yes, I did.
And you didn't stick around to see what kind of injury there was?
Not at all. I was running for my life. I wanted to leave that establishment. There was too many bouncers there. And I'm not a fighter. I was just defending myself. This guy hit both of my friends and turned towards me. Look at him. He's 6'4", 300 pounds and muscular. I'm getting out of there.
You should have gotten out before you hit him, Mr. Bunch.
He turned towards me and was coming at me.
No, listen to me. You should have, at that point, if you're scared to death of him, you turn around as fast as your little legs can take you and you start to run. If you're, I mean, just think about it, Mr. Bunch.
You're
if
absolutely
you're scared
correct.
to death of somebody, you are large, aren't you, sir?
Yes.
Scared to death of this man, and you probably had to swing up to hit him, right?
No, he was coming towards me. I didn't have a second to react. He hit both of them, turns towards me, and he was down at my level, ready to hit me too. And that's when I just immediately hit him and ran. I didn't have a second to react. I couldn't believe, I was in amazement that this guy ran from the front door, ran out and hit the girl that was only 115 pounds and slammed her to the ground. I couldn't believe it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have a permanent disability. My finger is permanently bent.
Is that the hand that you hit him with?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcus Bunch wants his medical bills paid after getting punched by a Cowboy Boogie Company bouncer. Owner Jack Wade says his bouncer has a different story.
Now, you, sir, weren't there that evening.
I was there, but I didn't
But
see
you
the
didn't
incident,
witness
no.
this. But you did.
Yes.
And who are you?
I'm Travis Kelly. I was also there.
Well, let's hear. Stand up here. You first.
Okay. I was at work one night, and I remember this night. It was a Wednesday night, which is usually pretty busy. And Travis, who works the pit, called me down.
What's the pit?
That's where, in front of the DJ booth. That's where we have the platform where we just allow girls to dance.
Okay.
He says he got 2 guys on there that won't get off. So we went out and we asked them to leave. I mean, to get off the platform. And when one of the guys was coming down, he shouldered Travis. Okay? So in other words, he like kind of assaulted him with his shoulder. So we wanted to take him outside just to talk to him, which is standard practice.
That is not
We don't
true.
immediately throw people out. So in the course of escorting them to the door, they become very unruly. So we had to grab them, restrain them, and protect the other customers and get them outside. When we get them to the front door, I have to keep the door open. And one of the guys was coming at me, and I put my arm out to stop him. They wanted to come back in the club, and they were coming after me. So I'm just, I'm just trying to protect myself. And then the girl came after me, at me. Obviously, if I hit her, I would have killed her. Obviously.
So what'd you do to her?
I just she ran into my arm and
she
fell
fell
down.
back?
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of these guys, somebody hit me from the side. I didn't even see it coming. Just it really was nothing. And then he took off running.
Well, that was him.
That
in
was,
case you
I
didn't
guess
know.
it was. Yeah, it didn't even hurt. It's like somebody slapped me in the face.
So he took off running, and what happened?
I don't have an answer for you there. But I saw the police down there. They were down there talking to the police. And
Nobody
they wanted to
chased
arrest
him?
me. I didn't see. I just got hit me in the eye. So.
Did you chase him?
No, I didn't chase him.
I don't know who it was. It was a bunch of guys in red shirts. That's all I know. They had a lot of employees wearing red shirts, just like the one he's wearing today.
Judge, all I know is I was the only one that was injured. I mean, had any type of injury.
That's
And it
not
wasn't
true.
a big deal. It wasn't a big deal to me. You know?
Well, you said he were hit on the side of the face and didn't even
Yeah,
hurt.
that's correct.
And you can't identify either one of these two people as being people who chased
No,
you.
ma'am, I can't. I was running for my life.
And all you saw was some were people who were beating you up in red shirts.
I saw the red shirts. They stand out.
Red shirts.
Red shirts.
Okay. You want to stand up here,
Yeah.
sir?
I'd like to say, first of all, when he said we got off of the bar, the platform, nobody, neither one of us put a shoulder in either one of them.
I didn't
And then
think
we
that-
went back to the
I
table.
really didn't think that you did. Didn't you
No,
see the
we
look on
didn't.
my face?
No, we didn't.
But I want to know this, gentlemen. Have you been to this establishment before?
That was my first time there.
And
I
yours?
had been there before.
Well, if you were there before, you sort of knew the rules. Only girls are up on the platform.
I
Why
didn't
did
know
you-
that that was the rules.
Well, you took a
I
look
see
up on the platform. How many people were up there?
a lot of people up there.
All girls.
It was a very popular song. No, I
Just
don't
a
know
s-
if it was all girls or not, but there was a lot
But
of
it
people
looked
up
like
there.
all girls. You just told me, sir, a moment ago that you were offended because in this country there shouldn't be any difference between boys and girls, and you should be allowed to be dancing up there too. So
When
that's
they
why
kick-
you were offended.
After they had pulled us down, we looked up there and said, why aren't those people being kicked down also? And that's when he said, because they're all girls.
You mean you couldn't tell that before he told you that they were all girls?
I honestly didn't take a number. I didn't count them and say, look, there was all girls up there. Let's go up there and dance with all these girls.
And what about you?
Yeah, I saw a couple of girls up there, but I'm a guy, and maybe I wanted a date, so I got up there. But the fact of the matter is, when he grabbed me, 2 guys around my ankles, 2 guys around my wrist, another guy choking me. You know, if they would have asked me to leave or told me, you know, and threatened me, like, if you don't leave, I'm going to throw you out. But they didn't say that. They just came over, they threw me down, and then when they got to the door, they threw me past the umbrella.
Did you sue them?
Did I know?
How come?
The lawyer
'Cause-
said he didn't have a case.
Just a second.
At the time, I had, and
I'm
it was in a
asking
car
him.
accident. I went to a lawyer. I explained it to the lawyer. He checked into it with him, said they went bankrupt, so there was no case.
So
to
you didn't
follow.
sue them?
So no, I did not sue them.
This place is making a ton of money. They have advertisements every night. They,
No, I'm
they have a
asking you-
lot of people there,
Listen
and
to
yet
me.
they're in bankruptcy.
Listen to me, sir. I'm asking him some questions. He's a perfectly intelligent man. He can answer these questions himself without assistance from you. Your date. You had a date that night?
Yes, it was my ex-girlfriend.
Was she thrown to the ground?
Yeah, he hit her with the palm of his hand very hard. She walked
Like
up.
this?
Yeah, with all his force. He hit her. She flew back at least 5 feet, and comes up to my chin. 110 pounds. He had no reason to hit her. He had no reason to hit me. He struck me first. For no reason. I walked back up. I asked if I could get my hat. He said no. We had exchange of words. I stand back. I step back. He came at me, hit me. Then my girlfriend was standing next to me. He proceeded to hit her with the palm of his hand. She had damage to her chest. She went to the emergency room also.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If I hit her like she said I did, like this, I would have killed her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marcus Bunch says he was acting in self-defense when he hit a Cowboy Boogie Company bouncer.
Now, Mr. Bunch, You are in the difficult position, sir, of having thrown the initial punch in this case, and then seeking damages. And seeking damages against somebody that you cannot identify other than red shirts. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Well,
I
that's a
do think,
problem.
though, that this is his responsibility as a business owner to interview his personnel, to make sure that they're qualified, to train them properly so that they do not lose their temper.
You have two problems, sir. A, you threw the first punch at his employee, and B, you cannot, to my satisfaction, identify his employees as the people who beat you up. It seems strange to me that somebody who was badly injured, as you say you were, did not take themselves down to the police precinct on the very next day and demand to file a complaint against the people who you say assaulted you so that they could be arrested and prosecuted for assault. You clearly knew enough how to file a civil proceeding, which requires the same kind of acumen.
I'm just learning this. I'm only 25 years old. I wasn't aware of my options. We tried to file a complaint against these people when the police were there, and they would not allow us to do so.
I don't believe that that's true.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can't file a complaint against him, sir, because I just told you, I'm not repeating it, you assaulted him.
We wanted him arrested
We?
for assault.
Who's we?
Myself and Michelle
I'm
Chippy.
not interested in them.
Okay.
Their case is not before me. They chose not to sue anybody. Only you chose to sue them.
Now, I can establish that they were bouncers that worked for this club, that were the ones that came out.
I'm prepared to hear you.
Okay, because in the police report, it states that, and I can give this to you, and
I'd like to see the police report.
and it established that they were the bouncers that detained me until the police arrived.
Just a second. Well, the first thing that you say is that you've outlined for me. It says, he ran but was caught by unknown security employees and held pending our arrival. You've outlined that, right? And that statement is attributed to you. It says, Bunch said. Is that right?
I believe so, yes.
So then you said that. It's the same thing that you just said to me here. You indicated to me that this report would prove that it was employees who did that. So far, this is just your statement to the police. Am I correct?
So far, yes. Your
Okay.
Honor.
Who's something SSMAN?
Suspect Hammond, which is John Hammond here.
That's you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The only thing this says is Suspect Hammond related the same information and added that they chased down Suspect Bunch after Bunch fled after striking Judas, that's you,
That's me.
in the face. Is
Yes,
that
Your
right?
Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Did you see that whole incident where they were beating him up, sir?
I couldn't see. I saw them chasing after him. I did not see them beat him. I saw them chase him.
Ah, okay. Who's they?
The bouncers of the Cowboy Boogie,
Who are not here?
who are not here.
Okay.
But if they were here, I could tell you who they were.
Okay. But you didn't see any of them assaulting him?
Not behind it. No, I did not. Not out in the parking lot.
Okay.
We were on the ground behind cars,
Yeah,
Your
I
Honor.
couldn't see behind
Okay.
I was very far away from the front door at that point.
You don't have to explain to me. I'm asking whether he saw anything, sir. Seeing something gives me information. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This doesn't prove to me, sir, any of the things that you said that it was going to prove. We're still faced with a situation where you assaulted his employee first. You punched him in the face.
As a direct response to a threat, I thought I was going to
I don't believe that, sir. What I believe happened was you saw your two friends getting shoved hard. I don't believe he punched the girl. I believe, even according to this witness,
Can I
he
say
pushed
something,
her.
Your Honor?
You say nothing. Say nothing. You've told me your story, Mr. Bunch.
Can I show you the push that he did? Can I show you
To
how
whom?
he pushed her? Michelle Chippy.
It doesn't make any difference, sir.
He went like this and like that in her chest. If you call that a push, I call that a punch. Whether it's an open fist or a closed fist,
Then you
that's a
punched him in the face.
Because he turned towards me.
I don't believe that, sir. That,
Your
sir.
Honor,
What I
I'm
believe.
not a fighter. I do not have a record for fighting. I've never been arrested for such. I'm not a fighter. I wanted to get out of there. He came towards me
Sir,
before
you
I
started.
had a
Listen to
second.
me, Mr. Bunch. You
Yes,
started
Your Honor.
this whole problem, sir, when they told you to get off the dance floor, and you started by saying to a man who's probably twice your size, "Okay, hoss."
We got down.
Just a second. Just a second. That's what you just told me you did, right? And after there was an altercation, and I'm not so sure whether you all acted absolutely appropriately, you know, in making a big deal out of this thing. But there's no question that you hit him first.
But
And
he
I
hit
don't
two
believe,
other people first.
sir, he didn't hit her.
Yes, he did.
I had enough. Mr. Bunch, this happened a year ago. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
This happened a year ago.
Yes, Your Honor. And I have a permanent disability. My finger is permanently bent because
Is that
of
the,
this.
just a second, Mr. Bunch, is that the hand that you hit him with?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Didn't have to say a word.
And on the next Judge Judy.
I put my arms up to protect myself. They ran into my arms. If I hit her like she said I did, like this, I would have killed her. And she weighs 110 pounds. The reason they didn't arrest me is because I told the police, if they try to arrest me, I'm going to arrest them for assault.
Did you write to her husband, Ron?
Her husband had asked me
the
time and
answer
time
is
again.
yes
I
or
did
no.
write him.
Good.
Yes,
and
he
this is
wanted
the
to know if
hey,
she was having an affair.
Best friends torn apart over a poisoned pen letter that accused a wife of cheating.
you wrote letters designed to make trouble for her. You are a nasty, vindictive person.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is her courtroom. This is Judge Judy.
Parties on Thomas versus Eclavia. Step forward, please.
29-year-old waitress Georgina Thomas says her former friend, 36-year-old Carolyn Eclavia, made a false police report that put her in jail for 72 hours.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Judges number 207 in the matter of Thomas versus Eclavia. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Thank you very much.
Very welcome, Judge.
Ms. Thomas, the basis of your complaint is that the defendant had you falsely arrested, according to you, for assault, which caused you to be embarrassed, humiliated, stressed, strained, et cetera, et cetera. Is that right?
Yes.
And your story is a rather interesting one, and I think that probably it needs an airing because it led up to this arrest.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
How do you know her?
When I lived in Washington State about 7 years ago, I knew her just from the neighborhood we lived in. We were friends. We've been friends. Then I ran into her again down here about a year and a half ago. So we've been friends and stayed in contact here and there when we didn't lose touch with each other for almost 7 years now.
Now, you were both living on a Navy base?
Navy military housing.
Military, both of you?
Yes, different complexes.
I understand. And according to the papers that I've seen, there was a transaction with a car that started all this trouble.
Right.
Well, tell me about that.
Okay. I sold her the car for $100, and I let her make payments on it because they had no money, no vehicle, or anything. Then I went on vacation. I signed the title and gave her the keys on the agreement that she would get it out of my name on her husband's next payday because I was leaving on vacation. And then
what kind of car was this?
Dodge 400. I had bought a new car, and
How old was the car?
I think at 84 or something like that.
So it was a real old car?
Yeah.
She sold you the car?
No, she sold it to my husband. I don't even drive. I've never driven.
She sold it to you or your husband, but there
Yes.
was an understanding that you would get it out of her name so she wouldn't be
Yes.
liable for it anymore.
Yes.
Did you do that?
The agreement was she would wait until we had the money, which would be the next paycheck.
But then
the
you
way
didn't.
the Navy was.
But you didn't do it the next paycheck.
We didn't have the money at that time.
I don't
until
care
she
whether
got
you didn't have
back.
the money. That's not her problem that you didn't have the money. Let me just understand this. And you didn't fulfill your agreement with her next paycheck to get the car out of her name. That's what this whole argument was about. Is that correct?
That's what started it, yes.
So then what happened?
Then she tells me on the day I got home that she had sold the car and it's out of my name. So I called the DMV and it was still in my name. In fact, it's in my name to this day.
Did you tell her that you sold the car?
Yes, I did sell the car. My husband and I had separated, and I didn't have any finances, so I did sell the car.
Now tell me about this assault. How did this all take place?
It was basically because her husband was driving a car around in my name uninsured. Then she sold it to somebody I don't even know who's driving it around
terrible.
in my name uninsured.
She's very irresponsible.
Then I talked to her on the phone and she said, come over and get your cat. She had my cat while I was on vacation. I went over there. We got into a verbal argument. All I did was throw
Over the car?
Over the car, yes, and her not getting it out of my name. All I did was throw the litter box on the ground, and the next thing I know, the police are at my house telling me that I assaulted her and I threatened her life if she didn't sign a bill of sale. And I just kept insisting I didn't do this, you know, and they kept telling me, you know, this is what you did. And they arrested me.
Do you have a copy of the complaint?
The police report?
Yes.
No, I tried to get it, but it had been over 60 days, so they wouldn't give it to me without a court order.
This is untrue, what she says.
Just a minute. Did you call the police?
Yes, I did, and the
Why?
reason why I called the police is when she came to pick up her mail and her cat, when I turned around to get the mail, she threw the cat on me to where it clawed my back, and its claw stuck in my back. Then I went and I tried to get outside to where somebody could see what she was doing. I did not have a phone in my home. My neighbors heard and saw her yell at me and say that she was going to come back and kill me.
You called the police?
Yes, I did call the police. She assaulted me in my own home.
Well, just a minute. Did you throw your cat on her?
No, my cat was pregnant. I would not harm my cat in any way. I never touched her. I will take a lie detector. I will do anything. I never touched her. I never assaulted. I never threatened her life. I never did any of that. The only thing her neighbors saw.
You might have said a lot of loud things because you were angry.
Exactly. But the only thing the neighbor saw was me throw the kitty litter box on the ground, which was empty, and say, I'll be back later for the car because she told me to come back for the car. The guy who bought it doesn't want to deal with this.
Do you have any photographs of how the cat injured you?
I had them at home, but I never got them developed because I dropped charges on her.
Just a second.
I did not want to press charges.
Hold on a second. Well, even if you didn't want to press charges then in the criminal proceeding, you're here today, so you knew you were coming to court today. Why didn't you get the pictures developed?
Because I did not even want to have it brought this far.
But you know you were coming here, madam.
And I did not want it brought this far.
Well,
she did not drop the charges. They dropped the charges because she never responded to any of it. The DA dropped the charges.
No,
she never responded to them. I had to go to a mediator. 72 hours.
No, that is untrue.
My bill was $15,000. I was in there with hookers and prostitutes that could have got out for $150. Mine would have been $1,500.
Ms. Thomas, had you ever been arrested before?
No. I was taken to the police station one time for police disturbance when I was like 18 or 19.
You also say in your complaint that the defendant wrote letters to your husband.
Yes.
While he was away at sea.
I have it right here.
I'd like to see those letters, please.
Do you want to see the one to my housing manager?
Yes, I want to see
This
all
is the one to my housing manager. It's signed Concerned Citizen, but you can tell the handwriting matches it perfectly.
Can I see them?
Every sick thing you can imagine she wrote about me.
Excuse me. If she is so nice and innocent, then why do my children fear her? The same day that she assaulted me, my son is coming home from school. She pulls up to him as he's crossing the street from the school, and she tells him that if you don't get out of the street, she's gonna run him over, an 11-year-old boy.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are full of baloney because if you had injuries in pictures, you would have brought them.
And later today,
I think at the time he had something for me or an infatuation for me, and he thought he could get on the good side of me by posting the $5,000 bail.
Well, that was nice.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Georgina Thomas says her former friend, Carolyn Eclavia, had her falsely arrested after an argument over a car.
Right now, all I have is her complaint. Put it down.
This
I'm
card?
speaking. I have her complaint. In her complaint, she mentioned several things. You want to sue her? If you think you have a cause of action,
No, I did not
file a
want to
complaint.
sue.
I'm asking you, did you write to her husband, Ron?
Her husband had
I
asked
just-
me
the
time and
answer
time
is
again.
yes
I
or
did
no.
write him.
Good.
Yes,
and
he
this is
wanted
the
to know if
hey,
she was having an affair.
Hey, you pay attention to me. You wrote her husband. Did you write to her husband before or after this incident involving the police?
Afterwards.
How long had you known her husband?
I've known him before I met her.
So you felt compelled to say that his wife was cheating on
Yes,
him
he
as
had
a
asked me
boyfriend?
time and time again whether she was having an affair. And
When
yes,
did
I
he-
did write, and I did tell her, because the boyfriend was coming to the house where I babysit, where I live, harassing my sons.
It's not true.
Yes, it is true.
Just a second. All of this didn't seem to bother you when you bought her car.
Because
You
I
bought
did
just
not
a
buy it.
second.
I don't even
listen,
drive.
Listen to me. All these things, the boyfriend, who was, according to you, when you wrote this letter to the landlord, a convicted felon. She sells pounds of weed and cocaine out of her house. All of these things didn't bother you when she sold you the car a few weeks before this incident occurred. How come all these things just bothered you after the car incident?
Because the harassment didn't start until after she had the problem with my husband. To me, it was
Just a
her
minute, what?
business.
Just a
I have
second,
no
what?
right to judge her.
So,
but when
what-
she started harassing me, harassing my children, and assaulting me, then yes, I believe.
Then
yes.
all of a sudden, just a minute, then all of a sudden you decided that her husband had to know, the landlord had to know about all these charges after that. But before it was okay.
I did call the DA
Just a
that
second.
had pressed charges
Hey,
time and time again.
just a second.
And no one would come because I could not afford the restraining order against her.
You don't have to afford a restraining order, madam. All you have to do is go to court, and if you have a case, you can get a restraining order. Don't give me a lot of baloney. Instead of using the court system, what you did was you wrote letters designed to make trouble for her.
Thank you.
That's what you did. And calling the police, because I don't believe she threw her cat at you.
Oh, that is
Oh,
wrong.
no, I don't believe it. Because I believe, madam, if she threw her cat at you, you are organized enough, based upon these letters, to have developed the photographs, which you say you have at home.
I do
When you
have
knew
them,
you
I
were
don't
coming
care.
to court today to show me the injuries, you are organized enough to do that. So I don't believe that there were any injuries. I believe that she did
Then
probably...
why would the district attorney look at him on my arms, on my back, and decide
Do
that
you-
he would press charges at her? If there was
Mrs.
nothing
Clava-
wrong, why would he take her to jail?
You are full of baloney, because if you had injuries in pictures, you would have brought them. Now, the only issue is, what kind of damages am I going to assess against you? Because I believe that you are a nasty, vindictive person.
Can I explain a little
That's
more?
what I believe. You are a nasty, vindictive person. And I believe that she's entitled to be compensated. Now, the truth is, you threw down this item at her.
I'm kidding.
Okay?
Not at her, on the ground.
Whatever, Miss Thomas. You were angry. Very angry. And you probably did say something like you're going to be back because you probably got into a major altercation with her. I don't believe that she had the right, really, at that point, because she was not, in fact, injured by you, to call the police. But I believe that there is more of a vindictiveness involved here than anything else. As a result of that letter that she wrote to your husband, did anything happen?
We're now getting divorced, yes.
Well, it wasn't just because of this letter, is that
no,
right?
we were having small problems at first, but nothing like this.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you whether you had a boyfriend or not. It's really none of my business. The letter was written maliciously, and the letter to the landlord was also written maliciously. That is Army Housing. I'm awarding you $2,500, and that's against you. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are
Thank
excused.
you.
You may step out. Back to your right, please.
I've taken her food. They had no food, anything. I was a good friend to her. I took her to buy the dress she has on now because she doesn't drive.
Oh, you're
I
full
did
of it.
everything for
You were
her.
nowhere
The
near
only
me.
thing I have to say is, for From now on, if your big sister warns you about somebody, you should listen to it. She's just jealous. She's very jealous because I get all the attention and she gets none.
And now the next case.
Party's on Crawford versus Sullivan. Step forward, please.
30-year-old personnel director John Crawford says he bailed his friend Shannon Sullivan out of jail and he won't pay him back. Shannon claims he never asked John for his help.
You were arrested for assault. He posted bail.
That's correct.
You won't pay him the money for the bail that he posted for you.
That's correct.
Well, let us start with you, sir.
Okay.
Because I found your response, quite frankly, slightly ungrateful. Now, when were you arrested?
On the 24th of November.
What were you arrested for?
Assault.
Don't look down there. You probably don't need it, because
Actually,
I'm sure you
okay.
can tell me
It
exactly.
was the 28th of November.
And you were arrested for assaulting whom?
Somebody at a nightclub.
Were you drunk?
Nope.
So that wasn't an excuse.
No.
You just didn't like them.
No, that wasn't fact either. I was pulling out of the driveway at the nightclub, and this particular individual walked up to my car and kicked it, a brand new car. Myself and another friend got out of the vehicle and walked up to him, and he started a confrontation. I went back to get in the vehicle, and he came in the vehicle after me. He was on top of me inside the vehicle. The police were sitting out front, and they all swarmed in, and they seen it happen.
Well, that sounds like he assaulted you, so why do you think you were arrested?
Because of the injuries on him.
Which were, I assume, substantial?
Yes.
Were you convicted of that assault,
No, I
ultimately?
wasn't.
Did you
The
go to
case
trial?
was dismissed.
Now, when you were arrested, you were taken to jail,
Yes.
and bail was fixed?
Actually, I was going in for my OR hearing,
What's an OR hearing?
release on my own recognizance.
But you spent the night in jail.
No, I didn't.
You spent any time in jail?
Yes,
Is the reason that you were released from jail because this gentleman posted bail?
that's correct.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Forget the bail. Why didn't you say that?
Well, I didn't think about it at the time in the bill.
Well, you should have thought about it at the time, Mr. Sullivan.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 30-year-old personnel director John Crawford says he bailed his friend Shannon Sullivan out of jail and he won't pay him back. Shannon claims he never asked John for his help.
How long did you know him before you posted this bail?
Not very long, just a couple of weeks.
And would you tell me how it came about that you posted the bail for him?
I happened to be walking out of the nightclub right as this incident started, and I witnessed it. And I saw the police take him away. I received a phone call at early hours in the morning from the friend that was with him, and he said, Shannon is in jail. He wanted me to call you, tell you that he's in jail. This friend said that he told Shannon he could not get him out of jail, and wanted to know if I could do anything to help get him out. He said that Shannon would try to get a hold of me later, which he did. He was able to call me from a desk sergeant's phone.
So he called you from a desk sergeant's phone, and what did he say when he called?
He gave me all the specific information, the case number, told me what he was booked on, told me how much the bail was. I immediately called a bail bondsman. I didn't even think twice about calling a bail bondsman. Even though we weren't really good friends, I just felt sorry for him. I didn't want anyone to have to spend Thanksgiving Day in jail when he was planning on going to see his family in Arizona the next day. So I placed bail for him. And
how much did that cost you?
Well, bail was $5,000. They charged 20% of that for fees, and then there's filing fees, so it was $760.
And did you have a discussion with him about paying you back?
He wrote me a thank you note, said, I can't believe you did that for me. Don't worry, I won't let you down. I felt sorry for him because he said that he needed money, and I actually knew of some work that was opening up where I work, and so I gave his name to some people at work. He was hired at work, worked there just a short time, and after he stopped working where I work, he stopped returning all phone calls. I tried calling several times.
All right, Mr. Crawford. Now, Mr. Sullivan, $760 is what this gentleman spent on your behalf. Now, you want to try to explain to me why you don't think you owe him this money.
First of all, I knew I was going to an OR hearing and I was going to be released, okay? When I went up to the judge for my OR hearing, she said that you were just released on a $5,000 bond. I did not know who did. I didn't contact anybody. I never contacted my family or anything. Nobody even knew about it except for Paul, which was my friend. I never requested John to bail me out whatsoever. John did it on his own. That was his own thing. He did it.
Yeah, I'd spend that much money just to be nice.
Okay.
So why didn't you just tell the judge,
first,
I'm not accepting this bail, and I'm prepared to hear whatever you have to say, and I'll plead my own case to be released on my own recognizance without any consideration of this bail, so forget the bail. Why didn't you say that?
Well, I didn't think about it at the time in the bail.
Well, you should have thought about it at the time, Mr. Sullivan. You were more than happy at the moment to say, thank you very much. Where's my hat?
Bye-bye.
He wasn't arrested. You were arrested. Sounds to
Right.
me like he was a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy for doing that. But I think there's more to it than just being a nice guy also. I
Like
think
what?
at the time he had something for me or an infatuation for me, and he thought he could get on the good side of me by posting the $5,000 bail.
Well, that was nice.
Yeah, it was too nice, actually.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You had an option, sir. Your option was to say to the judge, who posted the bail for me? Question. Answer, Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford.
I did ask that.
You did ask.
They did not have that at the time because the bondsman had not delivered everything over to
Well,
the court
if the
yet.
bondsman hadn't delivered everything over, Mr. Sullivan, they wouldn't have released you.
That's what I was told.
They
I didn't
wouldn't
get out
have
till 2
released
hours
you if
later.
the bondsman had not delivered all the paperwork. I've been around long enough to know that.
Okay. I'm just telling you
All
what I
right, this is
know.
not a very difficult case. You owe him $760.
Okay.
Period. End of discussion. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Like I said in there, I just didn't want anyone to have to spend Thanksgiving in prison. I felt sorry for him, and I trusted him, and I thought I'd get my money back immediately, and it's taken 9 months to do it.
I don't felt I owed it to him. I didn't request for him to do it. He did it on his own will, and there's reasons why he did it.
I pet the dog and he bit me.
Did you pull his ears?
Neighbors fight over who should pay for the scars left by a dog bite.
What happened to you in the hospital?
The doctor put me some stitches.
Your face is beautiful. Going to be gorgeous. People aren't going to look at that. They're going to look at your gorgeous eyes.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is her courtroom. This is Judge Judy.
Parties on Matar versus Soria. Step forward, please.
30-year-old mother, Micheline Matar, says her 8-year-old daughter, Veronica, was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog, Pebbles, and is suing for the medical bills.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 327 on the calendar in the matter of Matar versus Soria. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat.
You pronounce your name Matar?
Matar, yes.
Miss Matar, this is your little girl?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, she was playing at a friend's house with your children.
Yes.
And that, unfortunately, she was bitten by your dog.
Yes.
This dog. And you seek reimbursement for your medical bills.
Yes, please.
There is no dispute that your dog bit her and scratched her, is that right?
Right, there's no dispute as to that, no.
Well, then why don't you tell me why you don't believe you're responsible for the child's medical bills?
First of all, Your Honor, my dog, he's really good. He always has a problem with sensitive ears. And when the children started coming over, I make sure, and I told him, the dog is fine, just don't pull his ears. Because he'll react. He reacts to adults, he reacts to us. It's a problem that he's had since he was a puppy. He's now 6 years old.
Okay, so that I found interesting in your answer. You said that the dog has had a problem with his ears since he was a puppy. Tell me what kind of problem.
You know, it's really hard for me to tell you. I taken him to the vet, and he says, well, he just has sensitive ears. There's nothing wrong with him inside that he can see that's physical. It's just a sensitivity that he has.
Well, what has the dog done?
He hasn't done anything to anybody before. What he's done, and my daughter can probably show you, is if you grab his ears and try to extend them, he tries to move, you know, kind of bite off your hand off his ears.
So he tries to bite off your hand to let...
because he is not comfortable with that. And that was something that I explained to the children, not only when they first started visiting, but every single time that they went to play with the dog. I said, you can play with him, you can pet him anywhere you want, just don't pull his ears. He's fine if you just, you know, touch him down, but if you extend them, he has a problem with that.
Hi.
Hi.
Veronica, can you tell me about the day that you went and played in the house where that dog was?
First, I went to my friend Christy's house.
Is that their house? How old is Christy?
8.
8.
And how old are you?
8.
Okay, sit still, okay? So you went to play at the house, and what happened?
I pet the dog and he bit me.
Where did you pet him?
On the head.
Did you pull his ears? You sure? You just went to pet him. Had you played with the dog before? Dog never bit you before. Where were you bitten, Veronica?
Over here and that.
Right over here where that mark is? Did it hurt? Did you have to go to the doctor?
The hospital.
What happened to you in the hospital?
The doctor put me some stitches.
Do you know how many stitches you had? And how long ago did this happen? A while ago? You know, my eyes aren't so good anymore. So I need these glasses to really get a good look at, you know, your face, because your face is beautiful. Right? Just had that little mark on it, so let me see. Come close to me. Oh, it's gonna be gorgeous. People aren't gonna look at that, they're gonna look at your gorgeous eyes. Right? I'm telling you. Okay. Why don't you go sit down? You feel better about going to sit down? Yes? Okay. Heard?
Sure.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
It's obvious that it was in her house, it's her dog, and if she knows that he has a problem, keep him away from children. Don't give the responsibility for 8-year-old to know what she has to do.
And I understand what you're saying. The point, too, is that the responsibility of having a dog is almost, you know, the words that your husband told me was, well, what kind of people are you to have a dog? Well, I'm sorry.
Miss Soria, listen to me. You know, things get hot when you're in the middle of a dispute. I think that sometimes animals are unpredictable. And even though an animal has not done anything in the past, you never can tell when something is going to trigger some sort of aberrant behavior, like biting a child. Your dog, while you tell me that he has not bitten anybody before, clearly had a problem with his ears. Now, according to the child was not pulling his ears straight out, which is what you say causes him to act out that way. According to this little girl, that didn't happen. But clearly, someone is responsible minimally for the medical bills that these people incurred. Can I see your medical bills? Because as between this lady and you, it was within your home that this happened. So somebody is going to be financially damaged. And I'm not talking about the little mark that's on your daughter's face. That's going to go away, hopefully.
Well,
and
I have a report from a doctor that will scar forever.
Well,
she has 2 scars on her face, one on her cheek, one under her nose.
I just want to know what the bill was so far
We paid $2,500 cash for the plastic surgeon to do her face.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know he has a problem, lock him outside.
But you know, if you had
don't
ruin
ruin
a
little girl's
we didn't
life.
know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are.
And later today,
I mean, talk about losers.
Yeah.
You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Micheline Matar's 8-year-old daughter Veronica was bitten on the face by Maria Soria's dog Pebbles and is suing for the medical bills. Maria claims she told Veronica not to touch Pebbles on her ears, but she didn't listen.
Mrs. Matar, I'm going to come to you. You seem like an intelligent lady.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that you knew that these people had a dog in their house. And an intelligent person also knows that when little children are around a dog, something can happen. Now, I'm not saying that you are responsible, but you clearly knew that they had a dog, right?
Things can happen anywhere you go.
Thank you.
Right.
That's my
That-
point too. When a dog bites somebody, regardless of where, when, and how, it usually becomes the owners of the dog's responsibility. It's almost a relativity here as to, okay, so by default, you know.
No, Miss Soria, you're missing the point, madam. The point is that you were, A, aware of the fact that your dog had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever tell that to Mrs. Matar?
No.
Well, you see, that's a responsibility that you have. Because then Mrs. Matar would have been on notice. And she would have known that what you knew about your dog, that your dog had a certain sensitivity. And then I would say, well, she assumed the risk if she let her children go to your house to play. You can't say that I'm telling an 8-year-old and therefore I've completely absolved myself of responsibility. If you told the mother, and after you told the mother, she said, dog looks perfectly fine to me, I'm going to let my children go over there, then she is, in at least in part, negligent. You would agree with that, right?
Yes, I do.
But you didn't tell her, and that was a mistake. Telling the children is not telling her. Now, they have medical bills now of $2,500. Somebody's got to pay for that. You had the knowledge about your dog. She did not. So you have to pay these medical bills, and the judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
What about the scars? I'm sorry, Your Honor. What about the other charges that I have to do another surgery for her to take out all the scars on her face?
Let me tell you something. Right now, to date, your medical bills are $2,500.
Okay.
Right? If you have additional medical bills, they're on notice, they may be responsible. It may be that as your daughter gets older, this little mark that's right over here is going to fade.
I spoke to a specialist, which she
You
told
may
me that it
have
will
spoken
not.
to a specialist, but I'm telling you, as your daughter gets older, she's still a little child. Her face is going to grow, her skin is going to grow, and what looks like a 1/4 of an inch scar now may be nothing more than a dot later on, and you as a responsible parent might not want to put your child through an additional surgical procedure. So right now I'm giving you your medical bills to date, which are $2,500. Now you have to know, Ms. Matar, also, if you allow your children to go next door to a neighbor to play and the neighbor has a dog, a little dog like this, that looks perfectly harmless. There is always that risk. I don't think that there was anything malevolent about what the defendant did. I mean, according to what she tells me, the dog has never bitten anybody else. But you have a responsibility to tell the parents, not the children, of people that come into your house, that this dog has now bitten one child. Because the next time, if this happens to somebody else, you are responsible for punitive damages. Do you understand?
I understand.
That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Yeah, the bat go to your right.
You know he has a problem, lock him outside.
But you know, if you had
don't ruin a little girl's
we
life.
didn't know he had a problem.
Thank you for the nice words. That shows what kind of people you are.
well,
You did
oh,
not
yeah,
even bother to call to ask how my daughter was.
And now the next case.
Parties on Flu Baca versus Phi. Step forward, please.
20-year-old student Renata Flubacher says she bailed 19-year-old Courtney Fye's boyfriend out of jail twice and has not been paid back.
The defendant was a friend of yours, according to your complaint. She had had some trouble with her mate.
Correct.
Some domestic violence, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You had him arrested?
Yes, I did.
And then you thought better of it.
Yes.
So you called your friend and asked her to bail him out of jail.
Yes.
And what did you say?
I was unsure of it at first. I didn't know the procedures of what the law meant and what exactly. At first, it was just that she needed to borrow the money, and then it ended up she needed a co-signer, which was a lot more because I didn't know the gentleman. And of course, what I knew of him was all negative because what
You
had
mean the
happened.
gentleman that she lives with?
Well, her boyfriend.
Her
yes.
boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So how much did you spend the first time to bail him out of jail?
I think it was $325 after all the court fines.
And you borrowed that money from her?
Yes.
You promised to pay her back?
Yes, I did.
And you haven't?
No, I haven't had a chance.
How long ago was this?
It was in May, I think.
Now then he got himself arrested again.
Right. He got on probation and then was arrested for the same thing pretty much, from what my understanding is. Not on her, but on somebody else.
He sounds like a real charmer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Renata Flubacher says she bailed Courtney Fye's boyfriend out of jail twice and is suing Courtney to get the money back. Courtney feels it's her boyfriend's debt.
What was he arrested for the second time?
Assault.
On whom?
Some guy, I don't know. Some guy he fought with.
And what happened?
He had called me from jail and was crying and telling me that he respected me and that one of the main problems with Courtney and I was that he wouldn't let me see Courtney. He said that my friendship with her, that I had bad influences
This is Courtney?
on her. Yes. That I had bad influences on her. I've known her since 6th grade, and he pretty much told Courtney who she could and could not see, and he pretty much was just apologizing and saying that, you know, if I got him out again, that things would be different and that she could see me. Because when I got him out the first time, I pretty much didn't speak to Courtney again. You know, I didn't hear from her. She was at his house. I would call there. He would get upset with her, yell at her, tell her, you need to tell that girl to quit calling here.
You mean this is after
I bailed him out of jail.
After you bailed him out?
So he pretty much just begged me, and then he started saying some things about if his probation officer found out that he had violated his probation, he would go to jail for 6 years. And he was like, I'm going to go to jail, and I'm going to go to jail for something I don't deserve, and something like that. So I called Courtney, and I was like, you know, Courtney, is this true? And from what she understood, it was all true. And I was like, what do you want me to do? Do you have another way to get him out? You know, do you need the money? She was like, yeah, I need the money, and I can't live without him, and I need him to be out of jail. And
did you say that to her?
I did say that.
You couldn't live without him?
Well, I did love him very much.
Sounds like a manipulative sucker.
Yeah. Well, at first he wasn't like that, but...
So how much did it cost you the second time?
It was $325 again. And this time with a lot more writing his, because I had to co-sign also again because neither one of them know anybody who has any type of liability, and it was a lot more money this time if he didn't end up going back to court.
Did he go back to court?
No, he didn't. I ended up having to call bounty hunters on him to pick him up. He was supposed to go to court, and Courtney and him got in a really big fight within a week or something. Something blew up, and he was staying at his other girlfriend's house, and we had to call the cops, and we had to do all this stuff. And the bounty hunters came and picked him up and had to take him to court, and then he got put back in jail.
So how much did the whole exercise cost you?
It was a little over $900.
All right, Courtney, let me hear your defense to this.
Well, I believe that I owe her for bailing him out the first time, but I didn't ask her to bail him out the second time. And he's the one that asked her, so I think that she should be suing him for the rest.
Well, she did, in fact, call you after she got this jailhouse call.
Yes, and I told her if she wanted to do it, that I would like her to do it, but I wasn't asking her to do it.
You said, I'm not asking you to do it, or did you say, I love him and I can't live without him?
Yeah, I said that, but I'm not asking you to bail him out. She did say that, too. She's like, well, I'm not asking you. I'm just, she said something like, I'm not asking you because I know you've already done this once and I know I already owe you money, but I love him so much and I can't live without him, you know? And I was just like, okay, so do you want me to leave him in jail or do you want me to get him out of jail? You know, this is up to you. And I told her straight out, I was like, you owe me this money. I can't stand it. I don't like what he does to you. I don't like the way he treats you. I don't like the way he treats me as somebody who's helping him. And
did you say that to her when you spoke to her on the phone?
Yes, I did. And we went together to the bonds place, and I was like, Courtney, this is a lot of money. I was like, I've worked so hard for all this money. And
what kind of work do you do?
I'm a waitress and a full-time student. And I've been saving all my life. I was like, this is my savings, and you know, you will pay me back this money.
When did Prince Charming finally leave the picture?
About a month ago.
Under what circumstances?
I just couldn't take it anymore.
And he's going back to jail.
And he's actually wanted again. And I'm trying to help his aunt out because she's going to have to put up $14,000 if he doesn't turn himself in. So I'm helping her.
You mean he got somebody else to put up bail for him?
Oh yeah, his aunt
and
got
he didn't show up.
And he hasn't showed up, and I'm the only one that he calls, so I'm trying to set him up.
Let me tell you what you should try to do. Change your number.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about losers.
Yeah.
You know, when you hang around with losers, you know what you become?
A loser.
Right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I believe the plaintiff when she says she couldn't stand your boyfriend. Sounds to me as if she had good cause. He tried to come between the two of you. He's clearly abusive. He's unreliable. And yet, because of your friendship, she bailed him out of jail. Big mistake. Don't do it again. I'm sure you won't. You know, you're a hardworking gal, and if you have been diligent about saving your money, save it. You know, bailing him out is like taking the money and throwing it down the sewer.
I know.
But there is no question that I believe that you assured her on both occasions that you would be responsible for this money because she was not relying on the boyfriend to pay her back. She was relying on you to pay her back. Your lawsuit seeks $800. You have to pay her. It's the right thing to do. Okay? Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $800. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He's very violent. He's, I don't know how many times he's hit her and stuff, but he's very verbally abusive. Many times when I've called there, he's calling her names. I was really confused. I've known her pretty much all my life, and I was like, what is she doing with this guy? And then 2 days later, she said that she was still in love with him, and I was confused.
She was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore.
You looked outside and you saw?
No car.
So you?
Called the cops.
It led to a dramatic arrest of her former friend who had repossessed his car during the night.
You got arrested for stealing your own car.
Yes.
Right? Did they actually put you in handcuffs?
Yeah.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is her courtroom. This is Judge Judy.
Parties on Gatewood versus Boughton. Step forward, please.
32-year-old restaurant manager Guy Gatewood is suing 29-year-old photographer Nicole Boughton for false arrest.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 282 on the calendar in the matter of Gatewood versus Boughton. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, gentlemen.
Let's see if I can unravel this rather complicated complaint. Mr. Gatewood, you and Miss Boughton were friends in 1995.
Yes.
And in that year, you sold her a used car.
Yes.
How much did you sell her the car for?
A sum of $2,000.
And she was supposed to repay you at the rate of $250 a month. Is that right? Yes.
Yes.
And you say in your answer that he was pretty reasonable about late payments and that sort of thing.
Right.
But you were paying off this car. What kind of car was it?
A VW Bug.
They're cute.
Yeah.
Right? So There came a time, sometime a couple of years later, when she hadn't been making her payments and you were worried about the insurance on the car, you decided to repossess the car.
Yes.
So in the still of the night, without telling her, right?
Oh, no. There was a
Did you tell her you were going to repossess the car?
letter sent to her, yes.
That said what? If you don't, I will?
What?
If you don't pay, I will repossess the car, right?
Right.
But then you didn't tell her when you were going to repossess the car. Day and date.
It gave her till the end of the month, which was...
Mr. Gatewood, do you understand what I'm saying to you? You didn't tell her when you were going to repossess the car.
The exact day and time, and no.
Right.
No.
So, without telling her when you were going to repossess the car, this former friend of yours, you went to where the car was parked.
Yes.
And took it.
Yes.
And the registration was still in your name.
Yes.
Because that was your arrangement.
Yes.
She did what any normal person would do, getting up in the morning. You looked outside and you saw...
No car.
So you...
Called the cops.
You got arrested.
Pulled over, yeah.
For stealing your own car.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What people do to each other and to themselves. This is really so fascinating. I was fascinated when I read this complaint. Now, ultimately, it was okay because you spoke to the police and were able to convince them that it was your car.
Yes.
How long were you in custody?
About an hour and a half.
Was it scary?
Yeah, to say the least.
You ever been arrested before?
Never. I've never even darned bracelets.
What? Did they actually put you in handcuffs?
Yeah, I was on my knees and they put me in cuffs.
Tell me about that. I'm really curious to know.
I was driving home and I noticed the cop following me, and I eventually made it home and I pulled into my parking lot, or my carport, and I get the lights and I'm thinking, okay, what's this all about? And I get out of the car and I get this spotlight in my eyes and he says, throw the keys to the ground. I'm like, okay. He's like, turn around, put your hands on your head. I'm like, okay. And then he says, walk backwards towards my voice. And I did. He says, stop. And I feel something on my back and he says, get on your knees. I'm like, execution time. And they cuff me. And I'm like, am I under arrest? And he says, no, you're in custody. I said, can you please explain the difference to me?
Did you say that to him?
Yes.
Did he have a sense of humor?
Not at this time. And so he says, can you explain to me instead why you're driving a stolen vehicle? I said, this isn't a stolen vehicle, this is my vehicle. And he says, what's your name? And I said, Guy Gatewood. He says, well, you got that part right. Then, explain this to me.
Had you known at that time that she had called the police?
No. No. This is just like completely...
So what you were suing her for is for having called the police and having had you arrested falsely.
Mm-hmm.
So you want some damages for that. And then you want some money for the car.
There's still a balance due on it.
Okay. Well, first let's take care of the car business, and then we'll get into this arrest business, because I have to figure out exactly how much, if anything, you're owed on the car, because she says that she paid money towards the car and she is countersuing you for the car, and then you're countersuing him, Miss Barton, for some nonsense, which I categorize as nonsense, which is the emotional distress of not having your car, something like that, which I'm not even going to think about because that's a lot of baloney. Now, how much did you pay for this VW Bug, sir?
How much did I pay for it?
That was my question. I'm sure you have an answer.
Initially, when I got the car, I paid $500. I then fixed the car up, put a brand new motor in it, fixed the body, did the interior as well. It came to about $2,400.
Let us assume, for the moment, you paid $2,300 for the car.
Okay.
All right? How many payments did you make on this car?
I had about 2 more payments left. I owed him about $600 more on the car.
How many payments did she make on the car?
She made 4 payments on the car. She only owed $425 on the car.
So she paid you, in total, how much?
$1,575.
Okay. And how much money did you sell the car for, sir? Because your complaint says that you sold the car after you repossessed it.
I've resold the Volkswagen for $200.
Why?
For the condition that it was in when I got it back, it wasn't worth much more than that.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
The idea that he came at night and took it was a total passive-aggressive, miserable move that is typical of Guy Gatewood.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Guy Gatewood says he was embarrassed when he was handcuffed and led away after he repossessed Nicole Boughton's car. Now he wants payment for the car and the emotional distress.
Who did you sell it to?
A neighbor downstairs for his wife so she could go back and forth to work.
Let me see the bill of sale. What year Volkswagen was this?
It's a 71 Super Beetle.
Mr. Gatewood.
Yes.
You were driving this car when the police pulled you over.
Yes, I was.
Where were you driving it from, sir?
I was driving it from Shooter's Bar in Huntington Beach.
What is the distance between this barn and your home?
2 miles.
And how long had you been driving the car from the time you repossessed it until the time they repossessed you?
It was stored most of the time. Maybe 2 or 3 times I took it out to keep it running. I also have another Blazer and a motorcycle that I use frequently.
Now, Mr. Gatewood, just because you do a bill of sale for $200, sir, doesn't mean that I believe that you sold this car for $200 because the car was clearly a drivable vehicle. Drivable vehicle, cute little car, almost vintage, you know, 71 VW Bug. Was it convertible or not?
No, it's not convertible.
So just because you wrote $200 here doesn't necessarily mean I believe that you were paid $200 for it in total.
I'm not the only signature on that statement.
You're talking about the buyer?
The buyer also.
Oh, well, it would certainly serve. The buyer would certainly say that he only paid $200 for the car because that means his tax when he has to register the car is a lot less. People do that all the time. It's wrong and it's illegal, but people do it all the time when they sell cars that are used cars. They say, hey, listen, put down $200, I'll give you $800 for the car, and then I only have to pay tax on $200. You understand that, Mr. Gatewood?
I understand your point of view.
Now, what did you, after you found out that the car wasn't there, you called the police. When did you realize that he had taken the car?
About 3 days after I made the report. I didn't hear from him. I called him as soon as I called the police. I was like, your car's been stolen. I know I still owe you money on it. I'll pay you the money I owed on it, but just to let you know it's been stolen. So if you get any calls about it being found, then call me back. I didn't hear from him.
And he didn't tell you that he had taken the car?
No.
Right?
Right.
Right.
That...
I was told by legal advice not to speak with her.
Just a second.
Sure.
She told you that she had reported the car stolen.
No, she didn't tell me that she
What
called
did she
the police.
say?
She left on the answer machine. She goes, I don't know if you have the car or not, but it's not up here. Give me a call. And that was it.
And did you call her?
No.
Well, didn't you think that she might call the police and report the car stolen?
Yes, but I didn't think they'd take a stolen police report without proof of ownership.
Well, then, that's your problem, Mr. Gatewood, so I'm dismissing that part of your complaint for having you arrested because it seems to me she did the right thing by calling you immediately, and if you wanted to be smart, you could have had a friend or someone else call her and say, he doesn't want to speak to you personally, he has the car. When did you find out that he had possession of the car?
Like I said, it was about 3 days after. When he didn't call and tell me, make any comment about it being stolen is when I knew that he must have taken it. I mean, because that's a part of his character that I wouldn't doubt. So a friend of mine was like, do you think he took it? And I'm like, you know, he's just miserable of enough person to have done that, but I'm not going to call him until I chill out, because I was pissed. I had no notification.
Say, listen to me, you're in court. Try angry.
Angry. I was angry. I was out of control. No, I wasn't out of control. I was just angry. I was amazed that he could have done anything so low without any notification. But like I said, it's part of the nature that I knew of him.
So what did you do? Did you call the police?
I called the police and I said, I made a report a couple days ago. This is the number. Scratch that report. He goes, well, was the car stolen or wasn't it stolen? I said, well, it was taken without notification by its registered owner, so I don't know if you'd call that stolen. But it's not stolen. It's in the owner's hands. When I got a call from the Huntington Police Department a couple months later saying, we recovered your car, I knew something definitely went wrong with the reports. I called him immediately. I'm like, Guy, we need to talk to you about your car. There's some problems. If you need my help with anything, call me, and I will totally help you straighten it out. I never heard from him.
He should have told you. He should have notified you immediately that he had repossessed the car. That's what you do when you repossess a car. You tack a notice on the door. This property has been repossessed.
I sent her a registered letter.
Did she pick it up? She
refused it.
Can I see it?
It was...
Well, that's all right. She refused it, so there was no notice. If you had a receipt that she had received it, that's one thing. Why didn't you just leave a message on her machine that you had the car, sir?
Because I couldn't prove that she would acknowledge the fact that she received any information from me.
You could have done both. Right? You could have done both, you know?
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You buy a used car that's 25 years old. Listen, anything that reaches 25 years old starts to go downhill. Believe me, I know. You know, every year it gets a little bit worse.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Guy Gatewood says Nicole Boughton owes him for a car and a false arrest. Nicole says Guy owes her for payments and repairs she made on the car.
In any event, Mr. Gatewood, I'm really sort of surprised that you repossessed the car anyway, since she owed you just a couple of $100s on the car.
I waited 9 months, 3 of which she lived with me, to receive any form of further payment towards it, and there was nothing coming in. I sent her a letter saying, you know...
What do you mean she lived with you? She lived with you as boyfriend and girlfriend, or she lived with you as a tenant?
She was a tenant in one of my... I had a spare bedroom. She rented it out.
And while she was living with you, she was driving this car, and and she did not make any payments.
No.
But then she moved out. But she paid you almost everything that was owed on the car.
75% of the thing, yes.
How long did you have the car?
I don't know, about a year and a half, year?
2 years, almost.
Yeah. We can talk about the repairs of this perfect car that I paid twice of what it was worth when I first bought it, and I had to immediately put in at least $1,000 on this perfect car. That the money went to his buddies at his garage who charged me so much for repairs.
Just a second. Nobody forced you to go to his garage, right?
Well, I thought they would.
Spartan, nobody forced you to go to his garage.
You're right.
And when you buy a used car that's 25 years old.
But when it's supposedly in good condition,
what everybody says.
In great condition.
Everybody says it's a cream puff. Isn't that the right word? It's a perfect car.
Anyway, he knew of these repairs, and that's why he wasn't getting some of the car payments on time, was because I was putting so much money into fixing this cream puff.
Listen, he's not your partner in this tragedy.
What's that?
He's not your partner in this car tragedy. You buy a used car that's 25 years old. Listen, anything that reaches 25 years old starts to go downhill. Believe me, I know. You know, every year it gets a little bit worse, right? Cars are no different from people. So you buy a 25-year-old car, you be prepared, even if the owner of the car says it's in great shape, to pay whatever it is. If you get disgusted paying for the repairs, then you sell it. But you don't charge it off. Because a bank wouldn't understand if you went to a bank and you say, well, I had to pay repairs for the car, and I had to pay my phone bill, and I had to pay this, and I had to pay that, so I can't pay you this month. They wouldn't have tolerated it. But I have a problem, because you two clearly knew each other. You were friends. You knew each other for a long time. She lived in your house. And Mr. Gatewood, I don't understand why you treated this in nothing more than what apparently is an arm's-length transaction by going and repossessing the car, not notifying her immediately. Not notifying her immediately. Even if you send her a registered letter, that takes a couple of days to get there. Any normal person coming out of their house, not seeing their car, would call the police. Then you are at risk, sir. So you caused that problem yourself by repossessing the car without advising her that you were going to do it, or at least repossessing the car at midnight, tacking a notice on our door. I have, in fact, repossessed the car. If you have any problem with that, I'll see you in court. Whatever it is. But you didn't do that. So if you got arrested, that's your problem. So that part of your lawsuit is dismissed. And the only thing that I have to try to figure out is who owes who money for this car.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Now, you have any proof that you paid $2,300 for this car?
That was all in parts, receipts, stuff like that.
Well, let me see.
I did bring anything like that with me because I didn't feel it would be necessary for today.
And you say you bought it for $500?
Yes.
So let's see how much you made. So you don't have any proof of how much you put in to have it fixed for me. So let's say you put in nothing. So you bought it for $500. You got $1,575 from her, and you got another, according to you, $200 from your neighbor. 5, 7, 12. So far, you got $1,775 for a car that you paid $500 for. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Now, on the other hand, Miss Barton, you had the use of a car for almost 2 years.
Right.
At about $750 a year, right?
Plus all the repairs.
That's what happens when you have a car. You do repairs on a car when you have a car. So for $750 a year, you had basic transportation.
Basic, very basic.
Did you have another car or just this car?
It was great.
It was great. So that seems to me as if, that's nice, 12 months. Comes out to what, less than $50 or 50, $60 a month to own a car? That's not bad. You have insurance for this car?
Not anymore.
Did you have?
Did I have?
Paid up insurance all the time?
All the time, no, not all the time.
Well, that was one of the reasons he repossessed the car, right?
I don't know.
Just a second.
He had more excuses for taking the car.
Let me ask you a question. No, he's very clear in his complaint. He says he was concerned because the car's in his name, and you told him you didn't have money to keep up the insurance. So he was afraid if he got into an accident in this car, they were going to come and take away his other car and everything else that he owns, right? So you didn't have insurance on the car.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. Oy. Sounds to me as if you made out okay, Mr. Gatewood, in the sale of the car. Sounds to me, Miss Barton, that you brought on some of this on your own, had no insurance on a car. You certainly weren't going to get stuck if the car was in an accident or if you hurt somebody. He was going to get stuck. He's the registered owner, and you have nothing because you couldn't even make the car payment, so they couldn't go after you. So it sounds to me as if you two folks absolutely deserve each other. Your complaint is dismissed. Your countersuit is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He knows me really well. He knows I'm a very distracted artist. He could have made it a little bit more clearly without being so passive-aggressive about, look, I really don't appreciate what situation you've put me into. He never communicated anything with me like that.
No.
Whatever's in the past is in the past. Everything ends the way it's supposed to end.
The engagement didn't ripen into a marriage, and you broke up.
Now that the love is gone, the would-be groom wants back the money he spent on his never-to-be bride.
I think I deserve punitive damages.
I assumed that we were going to be married, and in the course of our relationship, that it would all wash out in the end.
I'm not going to go through all this. Where are the $500 in phone bills?
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheinlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is her courtroom. This is Judge Judy.
Parties on Bledsoe versus Bryant. Step forward, please.
28-year-old news producer Robert Bledsoe says his former fiancée, Renee Lynn Bryant, owes him money for past due bills.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 380 on the calendar in the matter of Bledsoe versus Bryant. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
You folks were engaged according to these papers and moved into a house together. The engagement didn't ripen into a marriage, and you broke up.
Correct.
you say she owes you some money.
She agreed at the time that we broke up to pay the phone bill, which was approximately 80% hers. While she did not work the 3 months while we were engaged and living together, she made numerous calls, and the phone bill equaled almost $500. And she made probably 80% of the bill, and she agreed at that time to pay for that. No, for the phone bill, and then, you know, half of the utilities, half of the rent. She only gave me $940 the entire time after we moved in.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Just a minute.
And she gave me that $940, but the bills were considerably more than that, obviously. I mean, you know, what she should have paid, all told, is $1,371.19. That's if we split the bills in half. But I said, once you just pay the phone bill, she agreed to that. She was going to pay it after her first check from her new job. She had just gotten a job right at the time we split up, and she was to pay me at the 1st of August when she got paid, and she did not. Then she put it on, and she said, I'll pay you the next month. The next month came. She did not. In the meantime, I had to borrow money from my parents in order to pay the phone bill, which was $500, so I could get another phone later. And at that time, she didn't pay in September. She promised me by the end of the month. I called near the end of the month. She told me she had no intention of paying me. She didn't feel she owed me the money, and that I would just have to sue her. Okay. And
my first question to you, Mr. Bledsoe, is this. You say that during the course of the 3 months that you lived together, she should have paid you $1,371.
If we were to have half.
If you were to split the expenses. And she paid you $940.
Correct.
Which leaves $431 if you were to split the bills in half.
Correct.
And you say that she agreed to pay the $500 phone bill in place of that. So she's really paying $69 more than she should have.
However, I also paid one of her truck payments for $277.97 on my credit card, and she was supposed to pay me before the following month, before interest accrued on that amount, and she did not. And then the next month, she had another bill, and she wanted me to do the same thing, charge my credit
Mr.
card.
Bledsoe. So, is what you're saying you forgave everything as long as she paid the $500 phone bill?
It was a settlement. It was nothing more than a settlement.
What I'm asking you is what you're saying that in lieu of the truck payment and the $431,
yes,
that you were prepared to accept the $500 phone bill?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Now I'll hear from you.
Okay, Your Honor, we need to back up, because when I agreed to marry Robert Bledsoe, who I loved dearly at that time, he had convinced me that I should quit my full-time teaching job.
I'm not interested in that.
Okay. Well, I moved to Altaloma, where we rented a house. Okay, he borrowed $1,600 from his mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Richard Bledsoe. When I received my very last teaching check, which was of $1,400, I gave him $1,200 cash for the deposit. So he gave his parents the $1,200 cash, which left $400 that he had to give them. When things didn't work out between us, okay, I lost my $1,200 deposit.
Well, that's
but
what I'm
I have to say that I worked the entire time. I was a substitute teacher.
Just a minute.
And I have my pay.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because I read that in the answer, and Mr. Bledsoe, you seem to have left that out, although you do indicate that she paid for 3/4 of the deposit, the security deposit.
She did.
On the house.
Yes.
And that was lost.
Yes.
And that was $1,200?
The security deposit was at $825. Then there was $825 for first month's rent.
Well, let's not count the first month's rent because you lived there.
Right.
Let's talk about the $825.
Yeah. But we had to come up with... I'm sorry, Your Honor.
She paid the $825.
No. Well, she paid $1,050, and then I paid $600, which equaled $650. $1,650, which was the full move-in.
So she paid more than you did?
Oh, yes.
How much more?
At $400.
Okay. So she paid $400 more than you did, which she lost.
She lost that, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I cannot prove that I gave him cash, and that's a sorry thing that I didn't get receipts from my fiance when we were going out because I assumed that we were going to be married, and in the course of being married, that it would all wash out in the end.
And later today,
Did you ever tell your sister that this was a gift?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
She probably can't even come today and look me in the eye and say that. That's why she's not here.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robert Bledsoe wants his former fiancée, Renee Lynn Bryant, to repay him for past due bills. Renee says he made her quit her job to move in with him.
Well, it seems to me, Mr. Bledsoe, that what's fair is fair. If she lost $400 more than you did, she has to be given credit for that. Don't you believe so?
Well, no, because I offered her at the time that we were about to split up. We agreed to stay together even after we agreed to leave the house. And we had to leave the house just because I had given them a check to pay for the rent that month in July, but I didn't have the funds. She only gave me $200 to cover that. She was unable to pay her half of the rent that month.
Now,
however, I was able to pay my half of the rent.
But that's my next question to you, Mr. Bledsoe, because I read your papers very carefully, sir. You say the last month that you were there, she gave you $200 towards the rent. You wrote out a check for the entire rent, gave it to the landlord. And how much was the entire rent? $800?
$825.
But then you stopped payment on that check.
I had to stop payment on that.
What did you do with the $200 that she gave you?
Oh, I began paying bills. I began paying the bills. Most of the bills.
Just a minute. We've already talked about the bills. The bills were the original $1,371 that you said that you had all together. What did you do with her $200? Did you give it back to her?
No. She told me I could keep it.
Well, so far, let me understand
because
this, Mr. Bledsoe.
Because she owed me money.
Right, but she can't keep owing you money if she keeps giving you money, sir. She gave you $200, all right?
That's part of the $940. That is not in addition to the $940. That is part of the $940, the $940.
Oh,
I have just added up everything she ever gave me.
So you are giving her credit. The $940 includes the $200?
Correct.
But it doesn't include the deposit.
It doesn't include the $400.
And it doesn't include the money that I made as a substitute teacher working for Altaloma, Cucamonga, and Riverside that I gave him cash.
Yes, it does.
Well, just a second.
All you gave me was
Just a second. You
cash.
can't prove that you gave him the cash. Just a
that I
second.
didn't excuse me, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
All right. So we have $940, and I'm adding on to the $940 $400, which is the deposit.
However, it's $200 more.
She lost $400.
Right.
She lost $400. You lost.
I lost $200.
But you're already getting. Just a second. You're already getting credit for that, sir.
No, she lost $600. She
paid $400 more than you did.
Right, she paid $400.
$400 more than you did. That's all that I'm interested in. Well, that evens out the $1,371. So now all we're down to is truck payment, $277.97. Do you owe him that?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
Because I assumed since I had paid more the deposit that was his way of giving me back some of the money.
No, I've given you credit for that.
Okay.
I've given you credit
for that. You see, you're right. I cannot prove that I gave him cash, and that's a sorry thing that I didn't get receipts from my fiancé when we were going out because I assumed that we were going to be married, and in the course of our relationship of being married, that it would all wash out in the end. And I did, yes, Your Honor.
$277 is for the truck payment. It didn't work out, so you have to pay for your own truck payment.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, you had a $500 phone bill. Show me the $500 phone bill. Is this $1,300 that you gave me, including all the utility bills and everything else?
And yes.
Well, then it includes the telephone.
Yes. I didn't say that it didn't.
I thought
you
had an ending bill of $500,
No, when I
sir.
said utilities,
Well, I've already taken care of the utilities. It's a wash. The utilities and her additional $497, not $1,100. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $277.97. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just want to forget about it all. But I want to say, you ladies out there, get your receipts for cash.
And now the next case.
Bodies on Mackins versus Richardson. Step forward, please.
Hairdresser Terry Mackins is suing her brother-in-law, George Richardson, for a house loan and money for a stove. George says Terry is retaliating because he beat up her brother.
According to your complaint, you lent your brother-in-law and your sister some money.
Yes.
For a house. And also sold them a stove.
Yes.
They refused to pay you for either.
As of this date, yes.
So first tell me, how much was this loan towards the house and how it came about?
I loaned my sister and my brother-in-law $700. My sister and my brother-in-law called me and asked me if I would lend them this money so they can go to closing on their home. I got cash. I got a check from my credit union account, got it mailed to me, and I got it. And in December, we had bought our own home. And our home, in our kitchen, we wanted to do our kitchen over again. We had a brand new kitchen, and we got rid of the cabinets, and we sold my brother-in-law and my sister the stove for $150, which was to be payable as soon as they got the money as well. So that's the $850 I'm asking
Well, tell
for.
me how the sale of the stove came about.
My brother-in-law was over our house, and we had talked to him about we were getting rid of certain things in our kitchen. And we told him we were selling the stove and how much we wanted for it, and he said he wanted it. And Reginald Bear, who's my witness, delivered the stove to their house.
Okay. So, what's your story?
Well, my had first given on a, well, we actually told her we was going to pay her back when we had a lawsuit and we was getting ready to settle. And we
What
said,
kind of lawsuit?
A car accident. And we were going to pay her back the money that she loaned us for the house. And Terry told us it was a gift. She gave us this money.
He's lying, Your Honor.
Just a second.
No.
Just a second.
She gave. And then she came back about, what, day later, because she called. That's what she told my wife.
Just a second.
Sure.
Where's your wife today?
She's home. She's disgusted with the whole thing.
Just a second. You just told me that the conversation that she had allegedly was with your wife.
Right, and she...
Well, then I'm not
me.
hearing that conversation because that's hearsay.
So is disagreement with us giving it back to her.
No, sir. Shh. Sit down. I'm not ready to hear you yet.
No problem.
No, sir. You just acknowledged that your original agreement with her, when you called to ask her for the money, was in-law. She has lent you money before, and you have paid her back.
Plenty of times.
And you have paid her back.
This was a gift, Your Honor.
No, no.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's lying.
And no.
No, don't speak.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Mackins wants the money back she gave her brother-in-law, George Richardson. George says,
Doing what I'm saying to you.
I completely
You
understand.
first said to me that it was a loan, and you agreed
No,
to pay her back.
Okay.
And you agreed to pay her back. That was your understanding.
Right.
She gave you the money, and I assume you. And when you did that, the intention was to pay her back.
Right.
Now you tell me that she had a conversation with your wife who was not present. And your not present wife told you that it was a gift. That's what you just told me.
That's exactly what I said.
Right. Did you ever tell your sister that this was a gift?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
She probably can't even come today and look me in the eye and say that. That's why she's not here.
That is
No,
why
that's
she's
not
not
true.
here.
Absolutely.
That's not
Absolutely,
true.
that's why she's not here,
That's
because...
not true. My sister, my wife is disgusted with my sister-in-law because
Why did you beat her brother up?
Because he assaulted me.
Your Honor, this is why we're here in court.
Why did you beat her brother up?
Because he assaulted me.
Your Honor, this is why we're here in court today.
Right.
This is why my brother-in-law is not paying me back, because I called him up the day after he fought my brother, and I kind of like told him about himself because what he did was not necessary. The whole thing is, George and Wendy owes me money, and I would like my money back. I don't have $700 to give nobody. I work very hard for my money, and I never told Wendy...
Did the stove get to your house?
Reginald brought it over to my house.
Oh, okay.
Now, called me up and said, though, you want the stove? I said, well, look, I haven't talked to Wendy. Wendy's my wife. I said, I haven't talked to Wendy because we have gas. And I said, we have to decide Wendy, because Wendy was at work. So next day, he brought it over. And he brought it down and talking to Wendy about the stove. So Wendy decided, we both decided that, get the stove. I even had a cookout at my house. Reggie Reggie was trying to make me buy the stove. No, man, you gotta buy the stove. I'm like, what's up with this?
Speak to me.
I called them, told them to come get the stove. They would not come to get the stove. The stove stayed on my porch runner for almost 8 months. So my wife stayed on my back just to get my wife off my back.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't have to rush and pay me the $150, but I charged him $150 for the stove and $100 to install it because I am a licensed electrician.
Did you install it?
No, I did not. What I did, I dropped the stove off on his porch.
How could he use it if you didn't install it?
Well, I told him when he's ready to get it installed, I would install it for him. So